Welcome back after the short break. We are talking budget, not the full budget of the tabling, but also when it will be tabled, as Mr. Daniel Steinman said before, that it will be tabled after the inauguration of the new administration. As for those who do not know, that we did have our national election last year, so a new administration is coming in. So after they have been inaugurated, we will of course be able to know what is in stake for Namibia economically for the next 2 years. 2025 to 2026, that is. But also, Mr. Daniel Steinman, when we look at the gross domestic product, that is known as the GDP. Yes. Should I ask, do you perhaps have an idea what it will be?
I've got a very good idea.
Okay, now let's talk about that.
I don't think I should be in my job if I didn't have an idea. I think very broadly speaking, again, looking at developments over the past 2 years, and then sort of at the nominal growth of the budget in 2024, we're looking at adjustments of between 12 and 14% on the income side, and probably between 10 and 12% on the expenditure side.
Yeah.
So what it tells you is that I think the ministry should be in a position to have a fairly accurate indication of where GDP will pan out. At this time of the fiscal year, we are usually at a level of about 89% of GDP as projected in the previous budget. So 89% is very close to 100%. So we're also very close to a reliable, accurate indication of what 2024 GDP actually was. Because you have to remember that GDP is an estimate. As I told you, it's clever guessing, but it is fortunately clever guessing by clever people who know what they're guessing about. So it is not just random thumbs up. It's very well defined. And after so many years, there's a whole history. We have established a very solid budgetary framework. So we are fairly on track to make good projections if it's not the end of the world, or if the Third World War doesn't start now,
hopefully
or if
not.
Mr. Trump doesn't do anything really silly, or if the Russians don't decide to invade the whole of Europe. I mean, these are all unforeseen.
Yes.
It's what in economics is called a black swan event. Do you know the story of the black swan?
You need to elaborate on that one for us.
It's a term that's been used for more than 100 years in economics. It indicates, or it's a description of an event that nobody could foresee. A typical black swan event that we had in the last couple of years was COVID. Nobody could predict that there would be a COVID, or what the impact would be, or what the outcome would be.
Okay.
You see, COVID cleans the slate. A semi-black swan event, a grey swan event, is the election of Donald Trump to the American presidency.
Okay.
Because we do not know what the outcome would be of all the changes that he is effecting now. Now, it's the same with GDP. We have a good idea if all things continue relatively normal or predictably, what we can expect from the budget. And it's also one of the reasons why we have established a sovereign fund, and there are various contingency arrangements in the whole government financial setup. So there is the type of debt that we did not have even 10 or 15 years ago. Financial debt. So the Namibian economy can withstand fairly severe knocks in terms of unforeseen events, or where the budget simply doesn't turn out the way that it was anticipated 12 months ago. Now, this is why GDP becomes so important. And I said, I think that on the income side, everything would be up by about, or would be increased by about 14%. But you have to remember there's also certain government policies that are supported by the budget. And it's very easy to explain or to give the listeners an example of what is a typical government policy supported by the budget. And one is the building of new roads, for instance.
Yeah.
Now, these are all financed through various mechanisms with international partners, but there's always a Namibian component. So if we build a road from Korigas to Opuwo, about 80% of the cost of that road is either grants or foreign loans or development partners, but a not insignificant amount of the money has to come out of the pocket of the government. So these expenditure items to us are an indication of the way that the budget serves as a policy tool, and they're also very good indicators of the way the cabinet is thinking in terms of priorities. Are we going to build the Kransberg railway extension first, or are we going to build the canal below the Neckartal Dam first? All priorities, and all reflected in the budget. And that's why GDP becomes so important. You have to first make that estimate. You have to take a view. You have to look at the policies that need to be catered or accommodated, and then you say, okay, this is what GDP was. Let's increase it by so much, or we have a reasonable expectation that it will increase by so much. There's the new GDP, and then you work backwards from that, and you calculate all the other allocations.
Okay. On that note, let's just quickly go for a short break, Mr. Steinman, and once we come back, we'll talk more.